Good morning. Today we have Ray from F3 Uranium. How are you today?
Great. Thanks, Tracy. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And I'll tell you, anybody who's watching F3 Uranium must be delighted. Your stock, I was looking at your stock chart. Last year, same time was 7.5 cents to this morning. The last time I looked, it was 38.5 cents. A lot of people have complained about miserable markets. What makes F3 different?
Well, it's obvious. Obviously, we're in a sector that's hot right now. It's the uranium sector. It's just flying. That's about the spot price is climbing, but it's really that in the last few years, there's been an increased international global acceptance as of uranium being the solution to generating baseload power that doesn't generate greenhouse gas. So the sector's flying. The difference with F3 is that we're also a discovery story, as you mentioned. So it's not just that all the uranium stocks are rising because the sector is gaining interest and focus, increasing global acceptance of nuclear, and really demand is increasing for financial investment in the sector. So, but the difference is that we're a discovery story on top of that. And when you talk about our share price going from, our market cap going from 20 million less than a year ago to something like $150 million today, that's really about the discovery. And we're lucky in a sector that's growing. So we're very lucky to be in the uranium sector right now.
Well, I think you summed it up beautifully. We're talking about education and resources and following the capital. You recently announced that Denison is doing a financing with you for 15 million and making a strategic investment in you. Do you want to comment on that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that is an endorsement to me, of the high grade uranium discovery that we've made. It's a beautiful discovery hole, a very wide intersection of high grade uranium at a shallow depth, in the neck of the woods in the southwest Athabasca Basin, where the next uranium development is going to be taking place. So that Denison would have made an investment in us with the option for us to repay that convertible debenture with shares at a premium. It's really an endorsement of what we stand to find. The only remaining question with our new discovery is how many pounds of uranium are there. All the other ingredients have already been answered. Wide mineralization with a high grade core at a shallow depth. So that's all the investors in investor minds and our minds. The question is how much uranium is there. I think that Denison has made that strategic investment in us is really endorses the fact that what we stand to have a tiger by the tail.
Well, you took some time in one of your recent news releases to talk about the Mogul MT electromagnetic survey, and how that might impact the potential for discovering additional mineralized zones at the Patterson Lake North property. Would you like to comment any further on that? I mean, you're obviously using the latest and greatest technology as well.
That's exactly it, Tracy, is that the airborne EM that we had available to us until this summer was flown in 2008. And we fly these electromagnetic surveys in the Athabasca Basin to try and locate the structures along which the fluids flow and these deposits are associated. So, and the airborne electromagnetic survey finds minerals in these shear zones and responds to those, so that's how we pinpoint the structures. It's graphite and sulfides within these shear zones that light up from the EM survey. So what we recognized is that there was modern airborne EM techniques available to us that we decided to fly to try and see if there were more shear zones there that the historic EM survey wasn't able to detect, but that this modern surveys would be able to light up. The survey was flown over the bottom 2/3 of our 100,000 acre property. PLN, Minto, and Broach are 3 properties right around JR. Together, they all are contiguous. Together, they're about 100,000 acres. That survey was flown over the southern 2/3 of the entire property. And really, it's already given us new data that's really encouraging. The first, as I mentioned, is that it showed us that the shear zone, along which the JR lens, mineralized lens, is at the north end of that shear zone. Well, it showed us that it's longer than we thought historically. And that's the greatest potential for more mineralized zones right now at PLN is clearly along that structure. And it's longer than we thought. That came out of this airborne survey. The other thing that's happened is that it's showing us other conductors that are northwest trending that the historic data we weren't aware of from the historic data. So it's a beautiful modern survey. It's going to give us 3D data, which we can integrate with all of the other data that we have. All our geochemistry, we've been working at PLN for a long time. So we have a lot of data sets that we integrate together that guide us. Right now, we're following up that airborne survey with a large ground DC resistivity survey, which on the ground, and that's also a 3D survey, which we decided where that should be carried out based on the airborne mobile MT. So that data and the ground data, we will also in the new year be doing additional ground surveys. It's all aimed at defining the best targets we can to try and discover the other uranium mineralized zones that stand to be there.
Well, I'll tell you, if you're not excited by PLN, if you don't have the Patterson Lake North property on your watch list, I'm certain our Investor News audience does now. But let me ask you one last question. What is the significance of this PLN project in relation to other uranium deposits? Because I think a little, comparative analysis might be very useful to some investors who might be new to the PLN project.
Sure. Look, it's a big property, 100,000 acre property in that neck of the woods down in the southwest Athabasca Basin, where NextGen's RRR and Fission Uranium's, NextGen's Arrow and Fission Uranium's RRR are in the process of being developed. That's the right neck of the woods for monsters. Those are very big uranium deposits. So the PLN property is a large property, and it's very close to those big deposits. That's the first significance. The other thing is that the discovery of the JR zone on the PLN property is at the north end of shear zones that are northwest trending. That's something new. RRR and Arrow and the historic work that was done before that was along shear zones that were northeast trending. That's where so far in that neck of the woods the high-grade uranium's been discovered, near Arrow and RRR. We've now demonstrated by discovering this JR zone lens that northwest trending structures in this neck of the woods have clear potential. So it means that we have a big property. And a lot of the structures on the PLN property are northwest trending. It's right where things turn. So it just means that there's a regional potential on this property for additional structures that will host zones of mineralization. So it's not just the one structure where we found this beautiful high-grade zone where there stands to be more, but other parallel structures on this big property also have, potential. So we're trying to look for more zones along the A1 shear zone. There's also, because our mineralization in the JR lens is so close to the unconformity, which is the bottom of the sandstone and the top of the basement, we're only, some of our mineralization is only 6 meters below that plane, the unconformity. So there is clearly the potential for unconformity mineralization or a sandstone hosted component to the mineralization we found. And especially down in the south where we have these good signs, the sandstone is looking much more altered. So that is a possibility the additional zones along that stand to be along the A1 shear zone, and then this regional potential that there's other mineralization along the structures that we're defining with this mobile MT. So that's the beauty of the PLN property. It was our flagship property for a reason. It's in the right neck of the woods where the very big, most recent discoveries and that'll be developed or in the, are being in the process of being developed. It's right there. It's a big property. And now a brand new discovery.
And of course, that's Ray Ashley from F3 Uranium. Ray, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, it's a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Tracy.